In the previous part, we witnessed Xiaoyan's masterful talent as he refined an 8-tier pill in front of everyone, followed by the process of purging the arrogant alchemist from the Yen Alliance. Now, let's see what happens next. When Gui was called by Xiaoyan, his heart trembled slightly and he respectfully replied, "You are the head of the pill hall, and such an event occurred under your watch. You cannot shirk responsibility. From today on, you are demoted from hall head to vice hall head. Grandmaster F.A. Ma, you will be promoted from elder to the new hall head." Hearing Xiaoyan's calm words, both Guhi and F.A. Ma responded with respect. Xiaoyan was no longer the same as he was years ago. He now had the strength to deal with anyone, regardless of their status. Of course, punishment must be balanced with reward. Over the past few years, the pill hall has developed very quickly. This is an ancient soul cultivation technique that can help alchemists break through to the 8th tier. All alchemists who have reached the 7th tier in the pill hall will have the right to consult it after making a certain amount of contributions. As for those of a lower rank, they will also be allowed to see a part of it after they have made sufficient contributions to the Yen Alliance. This can help you all advance your alchemy rank more quickly. I hope you will cultivate diligently. With that, Xiaoyan flicked his finger, and a scroll flew toward Guhi and F.A. Ma, astonishing them. This was an ancient soul cultivation technique. Many alchemists present, even those not affiliated with the Yen Alliance, showed disbelief upon hearing these words. They were well aware of the importance of soul power to alchemists, but they had never heard of a method to cultivate one soul. However, they also knew that with Xiaoyan's identity, he wouldn't speak nonsense. In an instant, their eyes became filled with fiery anticipation. I didn't expect such a great benefit to come from joining the pill hall. It seems I must find an opportunity to join soon. All the alchemists looked at Guhi and F.A. Ma with envious eyes. They secretly thought that while the Yen Alliance's rules were strict, a little tolerance was a small price to pay for the chance to improve their abilities. Besides, the group led by Lu Chang had brought this upon themselves. For their crimes, they would have long since been executed in any other sect or force. F.A. Ma and Guhi gripped the scroll tightly. They had heard of soul cultivation techniques before, but such methods had long been lost. They were stunned that Xiaoyan not only possessed one, but was also using it as a reward for them. Their hearts were filled with joy, though they didn't know that this was only a portion of complete technique. Still, for their current level, it was already a massive boon. They believed that when they had made enough contributions to the Yen Alliance, Xiaoyan would surely give them the rest. Seeing the atmosphere in the square heat up, Queen Medusa, Kalin, secretly breathed a sigh of relief. She had been concerned that severely punishing Lu Chang's group would cause others to leave the Yen Alliance in fear. But she hadn't expected Xiaoyan to have this move, humbling even arrogant alchemists and earning the gratitude of a figure like Guhi. He has matured so much over the years, she murmured to herself, turning her head to look at Xiaoyan. She understood that after this killing the chicken to scare the monkeys incident, the pill hall would surely undergo positive changes. Only when the pill hall was no longer a cancer could the Yen Alliance continue to grow and truly dominate the northwestern continent. After dealing with the matters of the pill hall, Xiaoyan rested for 2 days in the Yen Imperial City. Refining an 8-tier pill was, after all, quite tiring. Is this supreme water pill really suitable for Xiao? In the scent-filled room, Kalin was a bit worried as she looked at the pill Xiaoyan had refined. Since it's an 8-tier pill, its medicinal properties must be powerful. Although Xiao's physique is already strong, I'm still a little uneasy. Xiaoyan smiled reassuringly. Don't worry. Even though the supreme water pill is an 8-tier pill, its medicinal properties are very gentle, perfectly suited for Xiao right now. The medicinal power will remain in her body, and as she grows, it will gradually transform her entire body, making it perfect. He explained that while it wouldn't make her completely perfect instantly, Xiao already had a very good foundation, and what he was doing was just solidifying it. Reassured by Xiaoyan's words, Kalin nodded and watched him gently place the pill into Xiao's mouth. As the pill entered her mouth, it turned into a gentle beam of light that slid into her body, slowly stopping in her abdomen and emitting a soft glow. At that moment, Xiao yawned, her face showing signs of tiredness, and her eyes slowly closed. This is a sign that the medicinal power has begun to take effect. She'll be fine when she wakes up, Xiaoyan said with a smile. Kalin nodded softly, bending down to caress Xiao. Her usually cold face now showed a loving maternal smile. Seeing this, Xiaoyan was momentarily dazed, and he gently said, Big brother said we should have a simple wedding at the Xiao family to officially marry you. What do you think? Hearing his words, Kalin's body trembled slightly. As he saw her stiffen, Xiaoyan slowly walked toward her. He saw her once cold face blush like she had been drinking, becoming more and more beautiful and enchanting the more he looked at her. Seeing the beautiful woman in front of him, Xiaoyan's heart grew warm. He reached out and embraced her slender waist. He smiled and lowered his head to kiss her, and in Kalin's emotional eyes, the warm room was filled with spring. After settling the troubles with the Lion-Face sect and the Pill Hall, XiaoYan's next few days were quite leisurely. Although the Yen Alliance was large, thanks to people like Kaylin and Xiao managing it, everything was quite well organized. After the Great War, they would gradually arrange everything properly, so XiaoYan basically didn't need to get involved. XiaoYan himself was happy to have some free time, often taking Xiao out to play and enjoying being a father. During this time, XiaoYan also used his free time to use the spatial scroll given to him by the three elders. The profound imperial past was not far from the Jiama Empire, and it was a very important stronghold. Therefore, a spatial wormhole connecting to the Starfall Pavilion was established there. In the future, if either side ran into trouble, they could quickly come to each other's aid. The establishment of the spatial wormhole had secretly given the Yen Alliance a massive boost in strength. With the support of the Starfall Pavilion behind it, no other force in the northwestern continent could match the Yen Alliance. Dominating the northwestern continent was only a matter of time. During this period, XiaoYan also reviewed some intelligence on the Yen Alliance's development. What surprised him most was that his second brother, Xiao had established a Xiao Gate in the Black Corner region several years ago, and had now merged with the Yen Alliance as a stronghold. Thanks to the Yen Alliance and the Pan Gate force that XiaoYan had created while in the academy, the Xiao Gate had developed very quickly, quietly becoming a dominant force in the Black Corner region. With years of building up their strength, they would only need to wait for the right moment for the Yen Alliance, Xiao Gate, and Starfall Pavilion to merge. It was easy to imagine how powerful this force would be. It would be a mighty power on the entire Do-Chi continent, with a potential that was truly immeasurable. In a tranquil courtyard of the Yen Alliance, the three Xiao brothers gathered. Not far from them, Kaylin was playing with Xiao. The little girl was giggling and running around the courtyard, filling the place with life. XiaoYan hadn't enjoyed such a peaceful life in many years. Seeing Kaylin playing with Xiao, he couldn't help but smile happily. When she was in front of Xiao, the vice leader of the Yen Alliance would show a face full of maternal affection, a sight that was captivating to anyone who saw it. During these days, XiaoYan and Kaylin held a simple wedding at the Xiao family, presided over by Xiao and Xiao. The wedding was not grand, with only XiaoYan's two brothers acting as representatives. An older brother is like a father, so with Xiao and Xiao there, the ceremony was considered complete. After all, Kaylin had done so much of the Xiao family and the Yen Alliance over the years that XiaoYan felt deeply apologetic. He had to give her a proper status. In the courtyard, Xiao and Xiao were startled as XiaoYan recounted his years of wandering. They knew the Yen Alliance's existence and growth had not been easy, but XiaoYan had also gone through countless hardships. Thinking of this, the two sighed slightly, looking at the resilient young man in front of them. He had shouldered the burden of the entire family by himself. Anyone else might have collapsed long ago. For his family and his father, XiaoYan had risked his life to increase his strength. "Third brother, you've suffered so much over these years," Xiao suddenly said. XiaoYan was taken aback, then smiled softly and said, "Only by doing well can our family be reunited. A little hardship is nothing. Big brother, second brother, you were willing to give up your lives to protect me. If I couldn't do this, I would be truly heartless." The three brothers looked at each other and shared a simple laugh. All of this was because of the deep blood ties that ran through their veins. In the courtyard, XiaoYan told him about the Xiao clan. Xiao and Xiao were both shocked. They hadn't expected the Xiao family, which only had a small reputation in Wutan City, to be the Xiao clan, one of the ancient 8 clans once famous throughout the Do-Chi continent. But we no longer have the bloodline power of the Xiao clan. The final lineage has also been passed down to me by our ancestor, Xiao. XiaoYan sighed, leaning back in his chair. The Xiao family was targeted by the Soul Palace because of their origins in the Xiao clan. If what you say is true, that the bloodline power has completely dried up, then why is the Soul Palace still interested this time? Based on the intelligence I've received, the Soul Palace experts might be trying to seize the bloodline power of our Xiao family, Xiao said with frown. XiaoYan calmly tapped his finger on the armrest of the chair, his heart also filled with suspicion. What exactly does the Soul Palace want? There's no longer any bloodline power in the bodies of the Xiao family members now. What use would it be to capture them? Could it be to use them as hostages, to force me to hand over the Tasha ancient god Jade? But if that's the case, my father alone would be enough. Capturing the others would be a waste. I don't know what tricks the Soul Palace is up to. XiaoYan shook his head, but his heart grew wary. The Soul Palace's actions were always interconnected. If they were interested in the Xiao clan members, there must be a purpose behind it. Don't worry. The Xiao family is developing very well now, and we've scattered them throughout the Yen Alliance. The Soul Palace absolutely cannot capture them all. When our strength is great enough, we will gather the clan members in one place. Xiao said with a smile. XiaoYan nodded. His big brother had always been meticulous in his arrangements. After what happened that year, He would obviously not let it happen again. Second brother, I have a secret technique. You can use it to cultivate, then choose a few outstanding clan members to pass it down to, XiaoYa said, taking out the Heavenly Fire 3 Mysterious Transformation and giving it to Xiao. The Heavenly Fire 3 Mysterious Transformation was created by the ancestor Xiao. It could use a special method to help clan members cultivate their clan mark. Although the other clan members no longer had the bloodline power to unleash the full might of the Heavenly Fire 3 Mysterious Transformation, it could still significantly increase their strength. As for the flames used to cultivate it, they naturally didn't need a heavenly flame. Finding a suitable beast flame would suffice. Xiao accepted what Xiaoyan gave him without hesitation, because he knew that nothing Xiaoyan gave him was ever trash. If he said it was useful, then it was definitely a top-tier item. Now that the situation in the Yen Alliance is quite stable, I don't need to worry about the other matters anymore. So, I will be returning to the Central Plains in 2 days, Xiaoyan said softly. So soon, hearing this, both Xiaoding and Xiaoli felt a sense of reluctance. Haha, now that the Yen Alliance and the Starfall Pavilion have a connected spatial wormhole, we won't need to waste time traveling back and forth. If you have time, you can also go there to visit. I'll let the Starfall Pavilion know in advance, Xiaoyan said with a smile. Considering the time, the spatial trading fair was about to begin. He had to go there as soon as possible. After all, the purifying demonic lotus flame was extremely important to him. If he could get his hands on it, his strength would break through to the Do Venerate realm. To confront a colossal force like the Soul Palace, one needed to reach the Do Saint rank to have the qualifications to fight back. Otherwise, Xiaoyan wouldn't dare go directly and save his father. Are you leaving on the last day? Kalen, upon hearing this, brought Xiao over and asked in surprise. Yes, this time, you will come with me to the Starfall Pavilion to meet my teachers, Xiaoyan said with a smile. He saw Yao Lao as a father, and now that Kalen was his wife, it was only natural for her to go and pay her respects. That old gentleman from back then, Kalen's beautiful eyes flickered. Back then, it was out of fear of Xiaoyan's teacher that she, as the Medusa queen of the Snake People tribe, did not directly kill him. Xiaoyan nodded, squatting down to pat Xiao's head. I'll take Xiao to the Starfall Pavilion. It's the safest place, and my teacher can also teach her. She can cultivate now. Hearing this, Kalen's eyes showed a hint of reluctance, but she still nodded. She knew Xiaoyan was thinking of Xiao. The spatial wormhole to the Starfall Pavilion was located deep within the Yen Alliance and was heavily guarded. Xiaoyan didn't plan to publicize its existence to many people. Although he could charge a hefty fee for using the spatial wormhole, after careful consideration, he felt it was better to keep it hidden to avoid unnecessary trouble. After all, this was the only spatial wormhole in the entire northwestern continent that led directly to the Central Plains. If word got out, it would attract a lot of covetous eyes. In a huge hall, a spatial wormhole slowly spun in the air. A powerful and shocking spatial fluctuation spread in all directions. This is a spatial wormhole. Kalen and the others looked on with a little surprise. This was the first time they had seen a spatial wormhole in the northwestern continent. It was considered an extremely rare sight. Xiaoyan nodded with a smile. Beside him were the little fairy doctor, Heavenly Flame Venerate, and Green Scaled. As for the other experts who were invited to deal with the trouble with the Lion-Face sect, they had already returned to the Central Plains. Big brother, second brother, were leaving now. If anything happens in the future, just send someone directly to the Starfall Pavilion. Someone will receive you, Xiaoyan said, turning to Xiaoding and Xiaoli. The two nodded in unison and said, Take care. Xiaoyan smiled, not saying too many unnecessary words. He cupped his hands to everyone around him, then resolutely stepped into the spatial wormhole and quickly disappeared. Xiao, Kalen, and the little fairy doctor followed. Finally, watching the group disappear into the spatial wormhole, Xiaoding and Xiaoli sighed sadly. After a long while, they led the rest of the people away. The scene shifts to the interior of the Starfall Pavilion. This is your daughter? Yao Lao looked at the little girl hugging Xiaoyan's leg, staring at him with her big black eyes. A look of great surprise appeared on his old face. Seeing Yao Lao like this, Xiaoyan couldn't help but laugh out loud. He knew that Yao Lao had been captured by the Soul Palace before he got married to Kalen, so he didn't know about this. He immediately recounted the entire story. I can't believe it. I really can't believe it. Even with Yao Lao's profound composure, he was greatly shocked. His eyes swept over Kalen, and he said with a smile, Back then, your wife hated you to death. If I hadn't been there, you would have long since become a ghost at her hands. Hearing Yao Lao say this, Kalen's face instantly turned red. She had lost to Yao Lao several times back then. She hadn't expected that the old man, who was only slightly stronger than her back, then was now among the top experts. Xiao, go and greet your master's teacher. Kalen gently patted Xiao's head. Hearing this, Xiao blinked her black eyes, looking at Xiaoyan with hesitation. After seeing him nod with a smile, she stepped forward and bowed, saying, "Master's teacher." Hearing Xiao greet him, Yao Lao's old face showed a heartfelt joy. He had no children, and he had long since regarded Xiaoyan as a son. Xiaoyan's daughter was naturally his granddaughter. Given his age, no matter how strong he was, he always had a soft spot for children. Yao Lao smiled kindly, reaching out to feel Xiao's body. Then his skinny hand suddenly pinched the little girl's chubby face, and with a look of joy in his eyes, he said, "Her soul power is very strong. She also has a fire attribute, and there's a hint of energy in her body. She can absolutely become an alchemist." Hearing Yao Lao's surprised words, Xiaoyan just smiled and nodded. He had long since realized that Xiao's physique was extremely suitable for becoming an alchemist. His daughter's current conditions were probably much better than his own back then. If she was nurtured well, her future achievements would surely be immeasurable. Her soul power is so strong, even stronger than yours back then. Furthermore, her physique is also very good. If she is nurtured well, her future achievements will probably be higher than yours. A passionate gleam appeared in Yao Lao's eyes. Xiaoyan had seen this look before when Yao Lao first met him. Hearing the old man's praise, Xiaoyan just smiled without saying anything, but he secretly thought, "Ha! It seems I won't have to bother teaching this little girl myself. I'll just let the old man do all the work." Yao Lao's hands kept touching and patting Xiao's body, making the little girl feel ticklish and causing her to pout and mumble something. Everyone found this very amusing. "Little Xiao, from now on, I will nurture you." After touching her for a while, Yao Lao finally looked up and said directly to Xiaoyan, even with his profound composure. He couldn't hold back anymore when faced with Xiao's near-perfect talent. Seeing Yao Lao's eager look, Xiaoyan smiled and nodded. He had brought Xiao to the Starfall Pavilion for this very reason. Yao Lao's alchemy rank was among the highest. If Xiao could be personally nurtured by him, it would obviously be for the best. Moreover, Xiaoyan understood that while Xiao's talent was indeed captivating, it wasn't the only reason Yao Lao was so eager. The main reason was probably that Yao Lao had already come to regard Xiao as his own granddaughter and wanted to help her develop perfectly. This touched Xiaoyan's heart. "The child has traveled to the wormhole with you all, so let her rest well first, and we can talk later," Yao Lao said kindly, patting Xiao's head, and then instructed someone to arrange a room for Kaylin and her daughter. "Then you two can stay and chat." Kaylin was also a thoughtful person and knew that the master and disciple would have things to talk about. She immediately said softly to Xiaoyan, then took Xiao and happily walked out. Watching the figures of Kaylin and her daughter disappear behind the door, Yao Lao slowly retracted his gaze and said with a smile, "Kid, you got a good daughter this time, but the fact that you managed to win over Queen Medusa is truly beyond my expectations." Xiaoyan shrugged helplessly. His relationship with Kaylin was indeed too complicated. It was hard for anyone to imagine that the Medusa queen who had chased after Xiaoyan all those years ago would eventually become his wife. "You've come here now, so things over there must be settled. I heard that they were able to send out 2 heavenly venerates, which proves that the Soul Palace is not messing around. However, they suffered significant losses this time. The 9th heavenly venerate was killed by you on the spot, and even the 4th heavenly venerate barely managed to escape after being pushed to the brink of exhaustion," Yao Lao said with a laugh. "As for what the Soul Palace ultimately wants, to be honest, I'm not very clear myself. This ancient clan is strange and unpredictable. They are collecting souls, which surely has some conspiracy behind it, and their increased activity in collecting souls recently suggests that this conspiracy is nearing completion. Based on the intelligence from the Soul Palace, there have been signs of the Soul Palace in the places where wars have broken out in the Central Plains, and even here," Yao Lao said in a deep voice. "Huh? Wars have broken out in other places as well." Xiaoyan's expression changed, and he felt a sense of unease. What exactly does the Soul Palace want to do? Yes, Yao Lao's expression also grew serious. After a moment, he sighed and changed the subject. "The trading fair is about to begin in about half a month. We should make some thorough preparations during this time. The people who can participate in that trading fair are all top experts or from extremely powerful forces. The purifying demonic lotus flame is far too alluring. If we have news of it, those other forces must also know. Therefore, if we want to get the last fragment of the map, we will surely have to shed some blood." Xiaoyan nodded in agreement. The purifying demonic lotus flame was ranked 3rd on the heavenly flame ranking. This ranking was enough to show its power, and its allure was beyond doubt. Although it was only a fragment of a map, its value was also incredibly shocking. To get his hands on it, you are listening to the story on Channel 1991 Review. Please subscribe to the channel to listen to the next episode. It was no easy feat to collect rare treasures from a crowd of formidable experts. Immediately after returning to the Starfall Pavilion, Xiaoyan and Yao Lao both entered seclusion. During this period, all sorts of unusual phenomena would occasionally appear in the skies above the Starfall Pavilion, astonishing many disciples. However, these anomalies didn't cause any real damage. The nascent pill lightning was swiftly absorbed by lightning clouds, and this strange celestial event lasted for nearly half a month before gradually subsiding. After a fortnight, Yao Lao and XiaoYa slowly emerged from the stone tower behind the Starfall Pavilion. Both looked exhausted, glancing at each other with a bitter smile, too tired to speak. They went to rest on their own for about 3 days. On the third day at noon, XiaoYa and Yao Lao met again, their complexions completely restored. "Let's go," Yao Lao said with a smile to XiaoYa. "Judging by the time, the trading fair is about to begin. It's the perfect time for us to depart." XiaoYa nodded. By his side, only Kalen and the little fairy doctor accompanied him, as the Starfall Pavilion was their headquarters. And with Yao Lao also leaving, they needed to have some people remain on guard. "I have arranged everything properly for the Starfall Pavilion. If any problems arise, I will return immediately." Yao Lao stood on the mountaintop, looking down, and said with a smile. Without a moment's hesitation, he stepped into the void, leaving the star realm. "Let's go, too." Seeing Yao Lao depart, XiaoYa turned his head to Kalen. The two nodded slightly, and then all three of them simultaneously used their movement techniques, quickly following him. The trading fair was a rather unusual exhibition of goods in the Central Plains. Throughout the continent, only the top experts knew a little about it. The so-called spatial trading fair initially had no single master. Anyone who had the ability and knew the rules could participate. As a result, this type of trading fair gradually developed, and eventually a suitable organizing body emerged. The organizers were not a single powerful expert or sect, but 3 renowned sects who would form an alliance to maintain order: the Earthwalking sect, the Void Profound Gate, and the Treasure-Guarding Mountain faction. In terms of reputation, these 3 sects couldn't compare to the 4 pavilions, but in terms of strength, even the Flame God Valley or the Heavenly Alliance sect wouldn't dare to underestimate them. In the eyes of Central Plains experts, these 3 sects were very trustworthy. After countless transactions, the experts from all over the continent had decided to let these 3 sects be the hosts, so no unexpected incidents occurred. Over the years, the trading fair, jointly run by these 3 sects, grew stronger and more developed. Therefore, some reclusive experts would also appear here to trade all sorts of rare treasures. This place could be considered the largest trading fair venue on the Do-Chi continent. Even heavenly ranked Do techniques were not uncommon here. Of course, to acquire them, you had to offer something the seller needed. One should not even think about plundering here. Doing so would not only lead to a joint attack by the 3 major sects, but also earn the hatred of the other experts. This was because everyone who participated in the fair had to swear an oath. Anyone who dared to disrupt the trading fair would surely be collectively hunted down and killed. The venue for the spatial trading fair was a desolate desert in the southern part of the Central Plains. This place was normally swept by sandstorms, so it was uninhabited. Moreover, with such a desolate location, no force would be willing to stay. Therefore, ordinary people could never have guessed at this place, which even wild beasts shunned, was the site of the largest trading fair on the continent. "This is the place," XiaoYa said in surprise, looking at the golden desert in front of him. "Yes," Yao Lao confirmed, his eyes slowly sweeping over the surroundings. "Although this place looks desolate, if you sense it carefully, you'll realize that there are quite a few powerful auras here." Hearing Yao Lao's words, XiaoYa's brows furrowed slightly. His heart stirred, and he released his soul power. His face quickly showed a look of astonishment. After just one round of sensing, he had discovered that there were many strange auras in this desert. The weakest of these auras were at the level of a 3-star Do Venerate. The strongest among them had an extremely unique fluctuation. XiaoYa had one sense this kind of aura on Yao Lao. Only a Do Saint expert could possess such a peculiar aura. Although the fluctuation was very faint and subtle, it indicated that the owner of that aura was at least at the peak of an 8-star Do Venerate. Otherwise, they couldn't have such a strange fluctuation. As expected of the largest trading fair in the Central Plains, it can attract so many powerful experts. XiaoYa murmured with emotion. At this moment, he could only sense the exposed auras, but he knew there must be many more people he couldn't sense. Those people must have something to do with the word saint. This is just a small part. When you enter the main venue, you'll find that what I'm saying now is still an understatement. Yao Lao stroked his beard and smiled, saying, "When you enter that area, you should restrain your spiritual energy a bit. There are as many experts as there are clouds, and some reclusive sects, although not famous, might have old monsters who are Do Saints. So, don't stir up any trouble if it's not necessary." Seeing Yao Lao's serious expression, XiaoYa nodded in agreement. Today, although the Starfall Pavilion had grown very strong, most of it was still based on Yao Lao's status as an alchemist. Otherwise, the Starfall Pavilion could only be compared to a sect like the Wind Lightning Pavilion. Such forces could be found all over the Central Plains. Of course, if someone intentionally causes trouble, we obviously won't be a soft persimmon, Yao Lao said with a faint smile. A half-saint might not be invincible, but he also has another identity, which is that of #1 alchemist in the Central Plains today. If he uses this reputation, even a genuine Do saint would have to show him some respect. Let's go. As soon as he finished speaking, Yao Lao waved his hand, and his body shot into the depth of the desert like a gust of wind. Along the way, golden sandstorms roared everywhere, but as soon as they got close to him, they automatically dissipated. XiaoYa's group of 3 followed closely behind, obviously benefiting from the aftermath of the terrifying sandstorms. They could bypass things that ordinary people couldn't overcome. Therefore, in less than 20 minutes, the 4 of them had entered the center of the desert. Finally, Yao Lao led the way up a sand dune. After the group ascended, their eyes swept across the surroundings, and their faces were once again filled with shock. They saw that in the center of the desert, on top of the sand dune, there was a spatial black hole about 100 feet wide. It was slowly spinning, and a suction force emanated from within it. At this moment, several powerful auras occasionally descended around the sand dune, eventually plunging into the spatial wormhole and disappearing without a trace. This is the entrance to the trading fair. To be able to create a separate space is truly magnificent. Seeing this scene, XiaoYa took a few breaths to calm his emotions, muttering in admiration. Seeing the shocked looks on the faces of XiaoYa's group, Yao Lao also laughed, then waved his hand and said, "Let's go in." Hearing this, XiaoYa's group nodded in unison, all of them soaring up the sand dune, instantly appearing in front of the spatial wormhole. As they arrived, a few figures occasionally looked at them for a moment, eventually noticing Kalen and the little fairy doctor. However, everyone who could come here was not foolish. They all clearly knew each other's strength. Therefore, no one intentionally caused trouble. Yao Lao didn't pay attention to these gazes. He stepped on the void and directly entered the spatial wormhole. XiaoYa's group followed closely behind. They clearly felt a strange force briefly pass over their bodies. This force was not malicious. It seemed more like a scan. Entering the spatial black hole, XiaoYa's group felt a blur before their eyes, and then light and a bustling sound rushed in. Their eyes narrowed slightly. The world in front of them suddenly transformed into a small town. Everyone looked up at the sky and saw a multicolored space. In the distance, violent spatial winds could be faintly heard. This is a spatial town. The trading fair will be held here. This vast and boundless space is a very suitable place for trading. Yao Lao's eyes widened as he looked at the beautiful girls walking down the street, wiping a line of drool from his mouth and laughing heartily. XiaoYa's group nodded. To be able to open up a separate space as a trading venue was a considerable feat. Although this space isn't huge, it's not ordinary. You can go and take a look. There are almost no low-quality goods here, only rare and excellent items. Yao Lao smiled, then lifted his feet and walked toward a large street. XiaoYa's group also followed with curiosity, their eyes constantly looking around. On both sides of the street were stone platforms. On them were piles of scrolls, occasionally some jade treasures, bottles, wax candles, rabbit fur tassels, studded belts, and so on. Even weapons and magic cores were not lacking. Everything glittered with a faint light, showing its extraordinary quality. Behind the stone platforms were the owners of the goods. Earth Demon Soul, high-grade Earth-rank dough technique. Supreme Profound Art, high-grade Earth-rank cultivation method. Transformation Pill, high-grade 7-tier pill. 10,000-year blood ginseng. XiaoYa's eyes spun around, the dazzling array of items creating a huge impact. Even with his strong composure, XiaoYa felt a burning desire. The street was not long, only a few hundred feet. When XiaoYa reached the end, he slowly retracted his gaze. He sighed inwardly, feeling that in this one street alone, there were more than a dozen items that made his heart flutter. However, while he was moved, those things were not of much use to him. Therefore, XiaoYa just asked a few simple questions, and then moved on. The old foxes he intended to trade with were all asking for prices that were higher than the true value of the goods. XiaoYa sighed regretfully. Just as he was about to pull Kalen deeper into the fair, he suddenly noticed she had stopped. He was stunned and shifted his gaze to where she was looking. It turned out to be a stone that emitted a 7-colored light. The stone was about the size of a child's fist, and its surface had very clear 7-colored veins, faintly emitting a rather peculiar energy. 7-colored origin stone, XiaoYa said with a smile. As he recognized the item, he understood why. The 7-colored origin stone was a very special kind of mutated crystal, closely related to the 7-colored sky swallowing python. It was said that a 7-colored origin stone would only appear when a 7-colored sky swallowing python died. The 7-colored origin stone contained a very special energy that was of great use to the 7-colored sky swallowing python. No wonder Kalen stopped and couldn't take her eyes off it. XiaoYa slowly walked over. Behind the stone platform was a gaunt old man who was leaning tiredly against the wall, not bothering to greet XiaoYan's group. "Old sir, what do you want to trade for the 7-colored origin stone?" XiaoYan asked with a faint smile, not minding the man's attitude. Hearing XiaoYan's question, the gaunt old man finally spoke. 2 8-tier pills with triple-colored pill lightning or higher. "That seems a bit expensive," XiaoYan said, stroking the surface of the 7-colored origin stone. Although he needed this item, it wasn't the point of being a necessity. The main reason was that this item had a limited value. It was only useful for the 7-colored sky-swallowing python. For anyone else, it was useless. Therefore, its value was not commensurate with 2 8-tier pills with triple-colored pill lightning. Yao Lao stood silently to the side, not intending to interfere, just smiling as he watched XiaoYan haggle with the gaunt old man. "If it's expensive, then don't trade." The gaunt old man, acting as a seller, seemed to have a personality of his own. He rolled his eyes and said in a harsh tone, immediately changing his attitude. With just a simple sentence, he dismissed XiaoYan. XiaoYan was stunned by this, but he wasn't about to get angry. His years of experience had made his patience very strong. So, he was still secretly thinking about what to do. As XiaoYan was about to continue bargaining, Kaylin suddenly grabbed his hand and gently wrote the word "buy" on his palm. XiaoYan was taken aback by her action. He knew that Kaylin was not a foolish woman. Moreover, although the 7-colored origin stone was precious, it wasn't something that couldn't be let go. Yet, she was so persistent and even gave him a silent signal. This meant that there must be something unusual about this item. Although Kaylin had signaled him, XiaoYan didn't immediately change his mind. He continued to haggle with the gaunt old man for a little longer. When the old man couldn't stand anymore, XiaoYan threw a jade bottle over, immediately grabbed the 7-colored origin stone, and turned to leave with Kaylin. Seeing XiaoYan's sudden, swift actions, the gaunt old man was stunned for a long time. He picked up the jade bottle, checked it, and his eyes widened in shock. After a while, he frowned, looking at the receding backs of XiaoYan's group. For some reason, he had a feeling that something wasn't right. Damn it, did I misprice the item this time? But it's clearly a 7-colored origin stone. Why would that kid? The gaunt old man muttered to himself in suspicion, but there was no one to answer his question. Holding the 7-colored origin stone, XiaoYan and the others quickly disappeared at the end of the street. After turning a corner, XiaoYan stopped and handed the 7-colored origin stone to Kaylin, saying, "Is there something wrong with this?" Yao Lao and the little fairy doctor also looked at Kaylin in surprise. They had carefully examined the stone, but hadn't noticed anything unusual. "Yes," Kaylin said, taking the 7-colored origin stone. A pure, innocent, and lovely smile appeared on her cold face as she spoke. Ordinary people only know that a 7-colored origin stone is born when a 7-colored sky-swallowing python dies. But they don't know that if more than 100 7-colored sky-swallowing pythons perish at the same time, an 8-colored or even a 9-colored origin stone will be born. It's just that it's almost impossible for over 100 7-colored sky-swallowing pythons to die together. Therefore, ordinary people only know about the 7-colored origin stone, but no one knows that there are 8-colored and 9-colored origin stones above the 7-colored. The peak 7-colored sky-swallowing python is no longer called by its old name. After reaching that rank, it is called the 9-colored sky-swallowing python. Within the sky-swallowing python clan, only the sky-swallowing python with the purest bloodline can reach this realm. This is inherited memory that runs through the bloodline of all generations of sky-swallowing pythons. Ordinary people, even you, couldn't possibly know. Hearing Kaylin's words, not only XiaoYan but also Yao Lao was astonished, as he had clearly never heard of the secret. "Are you sure you're the only one who can recognize it?" XiaoYan said with a bitter smile. "How many colors does this origin stone have in the end? 8 or 9? Kaylin dripped a drop of her fresh blood onto the origin stone. The glossy stone suddenly emitted a 7-colored light, and then another brilliant colored vein slowly appeared. To know how many colors the origin stone has, you must use the blood of a 7-colored sky-swallowing python to test it. An 8-colored origin stone. XiaoYan felt a bit regretful. If it had been a 9-colored origin stone, Kaylin would have made a huge profit this time. Of course, he also knew this was insatiable greed. An 8-colored stone was already extremely rare. If used properly, Kaylin's strength would increase significantly. Even though it was only 1 color more, the energy contained in these 2 stones was as different as heaven and earth. "Ha ha! If that old man knew about this, he would probably spit up blood and die on the spot," Yao Lao said with a laugh. "I didn't expect to have such a good start as soon as we arrived at the trading fair. Let's go. I'll take you to see the real treasures. The things we need are all there." Yao Lao waved his hand, his body gliding lightly over the ground through the streets. XiaoYan and the little fairy doctor hurried to follow. Kaylin put the 8-colored origin stone into her storage ring as she walked, but in the instant she put away, a very thin vein quietly appeared beneath the eighth beam of light. And that concludes today's episode. Thank you all for watching the video. For more exciting content, please hit the like button and subscribe to the 1991 Review YouTube channel. See you next time.